Well, I had never heard of hospital radio. I immediately went to Google and started seeing what I could find out. I then started speaking to friends and family members, and it was a bit of a tough project to do. Not many people had heard of hospital radio.
But this is even people who'd been in hospital,
Yes,
patients.
so patient. So a colleague of mine was in hospital twice last year. She had two knee operation or knee replacements, and her dad was also in hospital. He had a hip surgery, and they're slightly older than me. So I went to them and asked and said, "Had you heard of hospital radio?" And neither of them had.
So they didn't come across any branding or notices pointing the way there. Okay, so that's fair enough. So there's obviously certainly in those hospitals an awareness that whoever's providing the service has to publicize it. What are they publicizing though that would catch your attention if you were a patient in hospital? What would you want?
I think that it's such a cluttered environment nowadays, and I think especially with mobile phones, if you've got your mobile phone with you, if you're a patient in the hospital or a staff member in the hospital, you've got access to all the commercial radio stations, to podcasts, to audiobooks, to streaming services. So it would have to be something really unique and something that would stand out to catch attention in a very cluttered marketplace. So that goes to what is the USP of hospital radio?
Okay, so once hospital radio decides what its USP is, and everyone shares that, some stations naturally will want to go and get sponsors because obviously, it costs money to run it. You've got a lot of experience in radio and marketing. How do you go about getting a sponsor?
I think as far as getting a sponsor goes, you need to have something that sits with their brand. So it needs to be something that's relevant to the product or service that they offer, or it needs to be something newsworthy or something feel good that they can be proud to be associated with. And then it's essentially packaging the content into a commercial package that you can go out and present to them. So what does it actually include, the sponsorship or the integration of their brand with the content?
Because it doesn't have to be a national brand, it could be a local brand. So, bigging
Exactly.
up your presence as a hospital radio service locally could be very important. How do you go about that? I mean, how do you get stories for the local newspapers or local magazines? How do you build an impetus there? How do you get things rolling from zero almost?
So I think the first, like going back to what I said earlier, what is the USP of the station in question, and then looking at what content can it produce, and is that content, I mean, as far as I understand, there's that whole feel good factor with playing music, but if you're going to try and commercialize something, could it be content that's created such as stories of past patients or stories of past staff of the hospitals? It could be something relevant to patients and even outpatients, so things like pain management meditations or maybe daily exercise advice that the patients maybe in their beds can do along or follow along with while they're lying there, but also continue when they go home. So yeah, I think it would be looking at what does the hospital have to offer and how can that be integrated with the station, and by working together you can create those content packages.